Mechwarrior 5 is a game about mechs and nothing else, I swear. Get introduced to a universe at war. If not at war with its neighbors, then usually at war with itself. And if not at war with itself, then is probably ruled under petty dispute. Either of which means prime time for mercenaries to commit war crimes these other houses can't. Welcome to the story of Rock Throwers Incorporated. This name will make sense very shortly. Now, I could detail the beginning and rise to prominence of this company, but like every save I do in this game, that would basically consist of firing all my employees, beelining to the Valentina system for the free mech, and heading straight to the core worlds to do single player missions for 10 hours. If you think doing that is insane, you are correct. You'd be listening to the same arena hosts for hours on end, but I do it anyway. So instead, we'll fast forward to the first DLC of the game, Legend of the Kestrel Lancers, which is only a brisk 30 hours in. Now you might be asking, why are you skipping so far ahead of the game? Well, this is the first of the mission sequences that don't boil down to kill this thing, and then I did. Added benefit that it lets me make a lot more bullshit mech designs that I get to introduce to you. Because the best part of this game is not the war crimes itself, but the journey we take to get to the war crimes. This DLC gets kicked off by none other than the Federated Suns / House Davion. Here's the 411 and what you need to know about the Inner Sphere at the time. This part of the galaxy, owned by House Davion, who, much like an 80s high school quarterback, will say they are God's gift to Earth, and then prove that by shoving you into a locker. Don't worry, they're Christian, and God will forgive them for their fire starter sins. And this part of the galaxy is owned by House Steiner, rich as sin and dumb as bricks. But as they say, throw enough bricks at your opponent, and the CTE will cause them to become dumber than you. Or dead. Notice that they own the two biggest parts of the galaxy, and are getting married. Talk about a power marriage. In celebration, they decide to take Shotgun Wedding to its logical conclusion and conduct live fire war games by hiring mercenaries, including us. And I will be frank, their chances are not great. They really thought, let's hire some mercenaries to do battle with House Davion, and House Davion would win. This will be such a sweep. I'll run this battle alone, and use it as an excuse to show you how I trivialize this entire game. So, you want to learn how to make Mechwarrior 5 a cakewalk. Let's look at our mech. There are many builds in Mechwarrior, from Discal Revival, to LRM Boat, to the most cursed, Balanced. Don't play a balanced build. Get enough firepower to kill one helicopter, and then dick around with whatever build you want. That is how you play Mechwarrior. In this case, short-range missiles. Short-range missiles use ammo, have limited range, and the first two parts do not matter at all. If you hadn't killed them with the first volley, it's assigned to shoot them again. This is what we call optimized mech building. And it becomes even more optimized if I add another SRM-6 and throw it on an Atlas DH, a Star League relic. This is why I spent 10 hours in hell. And to show you how this mech works, the mission is now over. Now that I've shown you the regular build, let's show you the actually broken build. If you're experienced with this game, you might notice that I'm not using a full vanilla version of Mechwarrior 5. That is because I like having fun in my games. Added with these mods are Inferno missiles. Inferno missiles, instead of doing damage, actively heat up the mech, like your weapons do when they fire, except this is involuntary and you cannot stop it. And when you get too hot, the mech will shut down. This will stop the mech in its tracks and make it a sitting duck. And let's just say I have every head hitbox in this game memorized. It's just the glass part of each mech. Now if you're looking at this and thinking, hey, isn't this mod pack a bit overpowered? Get ready for the rest of this video. And you have denied the possibility that I am a herald from the future. So, massive success. We have won these live fire war games and somehow not committed treason by killing the general. Well, we tried. But we do get recommended for another operation. Welcome to the actual DLC. Enter stage left, the Capellan Confederation. The Capellans will tell you that they are an equal among the other houses. That is a lie. They are losers. In size, in diplomatic power, and in human rights. All the more reason for the Federated Sons to take over their territory.
In honor of our marriage, I give you a vast prize. The Capellan Confederation.
Scratch that. This is actually a wedding gift, I guess. Fucking nobles. Our first objective takes us to Tikonov, a highly advanced factory world responsible for the manufacturing of the future metal coffins that I will create. The initial strike is a great time where I can finally introduce you to the definitive worst part of my mercenary group, Fahad. A man who will not stop droning about how these wars are causing the decline of humanity and loss of technology. Fahad, I have a counterpoint. You seem to claim to hate these wars, and yet you have no trouble deciding to repair my Warcrime 9000, also known as a slightly modified fire starter. As for disabling the planetary defenses, floor it and pray you destroy the turrets on the first pass. After Crackhead charging the planetary defenses alone and outrunning 2 full mech regiments, we get assigned a very simple mission. Drive out remnants of a mech lance in a mining town. I hover over the many mechs I can use to quickly and carefully take down the mechs in an urban area. Then I remember that Fahad exists and might start talking again, so I bring my blackjack with 650 cal machine guns. Oh, shouldn't have talked, Fahad. Now I'm going to tape down my left mouse button. After clearing out the rest of the remnants in the rubble formerly known as Giziga, we move on to the last defense of the Capellans on this planet. This time, I'll bring a more normal build to the fight. A Banshee equipped with 7 large lasers. Disco ball builds, as they're normally called, can be effective because focusing all that firepower on one limb will usually cause it to explode and render those parts unusable. Or just kill him. But there is one issue that I have with these types of builds. If you cannot aim, if you cannot track the opponent moving, which is a little bit difficult, seeing as the game at its best is a trial on how much stimulation you can take, and at its worst, a light show that melts your GPU. So that's why I prefer killing instantly with ammo, instead of killing in 1 second without it. As you march through the facility, you'll notice the one advantage that the Capellans do have over the others: having a competent military. They are one of 2 great houses to have actually built a new mech in centuries. And they didn't need to advertise their ability of having a big stick. Well, they did have a competent military. Now to Tigris, the intellectual core of the Capellan population. Time to commit catastrophic brain damage to the Capellan Confederation. And what causes more brain damage than 2 shotguns attached to each arm? Now the rest of the lance will say that there is ECM interference messing up aiming on their mech, but what the CPUs do not know is the idea of looking outside their windows and manually aiming. If there is one thing that I can say about the AI in this game, is that it's horrible. They will constantly charge the enemy, get their arms blown off, and will still not be able to keep up with you when it matters. This will cost you millions. My advice? Stuff them in baby-proof longbows so you won't immediately lose a rare mech. Now that we've set up a forward base of operations, we're going to destroy all power in the cities. Now, seeing as we recently acquired the ability to create the Capellan's mechs, you might expect us to use those mechs against them. You are correct. However, what they won't expect is that same heavy mech running at 150 kilometers an hour, machine gunning their generators, and jumping over everything else. The game is also unprepared, and basically has to hyperspeed through the text as I am already on the boarding ship, which means the other marshal's defense going from bad to worse to dead happens in the span of like 2 minutes. This is not exclusive to that single mission, as I do that exact same thing on the next mission, and they're still able to send off the data they stole. The speed of their data transfer must only mean one thing: they're using space fiber. So what information did they get?
They got our MIIO code books.
So they basically know everything about this operation. And who did they deliver it to? Comstar, owners of the internet, and really big fans of the status quo, which is at war. A good comparison for what just happened is imagine the Capellans being a younger sibling being beat up by its 2 older siblings, and then telling mom so that they get grounded. What a snitch. Off to the next battle. First is to check some other battalions to see how they're doing.
We believe he's been KIA. What about Colonel Harkness? Definitely KIA. His Marauder was bombarded by Inferno missiles. When he tried to punch out, Inferno gel poured into his cockpit and burned him alive.
Oh no.
We're detecting Liao forces.
Well, that's expected. Well, I guess we could do some petty payback as a treat for them. Fun fact, if you ever face a victor in battle, shoot at their right arm. It will go from giant danger to giant paperweight. Next is their HPG Station, aka their giant router. It's time to see who took down the internet. The battlefield, a flat plain, a perfect place to showcase LRM boats and their abilities. I don't like LRM boats. First, they are very ammo inefficient. Taking down helicopters with them, I hope you like missing half your shots and overkilling with another quarter. Second, the salvage isn't great. Generally, I like not needing to completely rebuild the mech from the ground up when I salvage them from a battle. And these guys don't do that. And lastly is another AI issue. Turns out, even when you do make an effective LRM boat, shooting a target with it is effectively alerting the horde, and they will descend upon you with their short-range lasers, which you will be unable to defend against. Every Griffin just decides to jump me into a corner, and the only reason that I survived is that the Griffins have a crippling weakness to being crippled. And even then, we left the mission at risk of losing a lot of good equipment. Now, after firing every missile ever and being hit with every weapon ever, I may have been a little bit disoriented, which is why I ended up bringing my artillery mech to a short-range urban engagement. Artillery only arms after a certain range, which means I am left with 2 weapons, a pea-shooter gun and 2 medium lasers. Well, I did get to use the artillery once. That was fun. But this mission was more of a 10-minute exercise of how far can I backpedal my mech into effective range. Time to save another mech lance. Now, throughout this video, you might have thought, gee, these builds are a little overpowered. Now let me assure you, attaching anything enough times to a mech will make it overpowered. Case in point, a Jaeger mech with 4 PPCs. Heat may be an issue, but this is probably the best long-range kneecapper in the game. First their knees exist, and then they refuse to exist. Being able to save the battalion stuck on the rock with only 1 casualty. What can I say, the Jaeger mech's armor is paper thin. I'm gonna need a human sacrifice here. Now it's time to go take down some ACM fields. This next mech is my tribute to Wangan Midnight. I've created a spider mech that speeds past the 200km/h barrier. As a great man once said, speed. Look, I dumped nearly $200 into that fucking cab. I'm getting a joke out of it, alright? Also, add another to the count of missions to break by going too fast. By having them constantly go, it's so over, we're so back, it's so over, we're so back. In the span of maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Final mission, and I guess they send off to this video as a whole. One final holdout to ensure our survival, and both sides will not be holding back. This is an Annihilator, basically a giant artillery platform, separate from the other giant artillery platform. And what do we have left? 4 SRMs, 4 LRMs, way more than 4 lasers. How about 4 heavy rifles? Let's just see how much pullback. Welcome to Mechwarrior in a nutshell. Big, slow, but oh my god, seeing any part of a mech get insta-gibbed is amazing and makes this game worth the cost of entry. The result of all of this? The Capellans, kneecap. The Federation, well, they're also kneecapped because Mom took away his allowance. But we should have actually just kept doing arena missions. Have you seen how much they pay out?